The Florida Panthers surprised a lot of people last year by reaching the Stanley Cup Final. What do they do for an encore? Armando Velez of Locked On Florida Panthers joins us to discuss that and more next on the Locked On NHL 2023-2024 Season Preview. Gil Martin here. The NHL season is less than a week away, and Locked On Season Preview coverage continues as we welcome in host Armando Velez of Locked On Florida Panthers to detail everything you need to know about the Panthers ahead of the 2023-2024 season. Armando, what would you say is the biggest storyline surrounding the Florida Panthers coming into the season?
The biggest storyline I would say for the Florida Panthers coming into this season is with an extended playoff run means more mileage on you, which means you're taking more hits, you're blocking more shots. And with the Florida Panthers, as soon as the Stanley Cup Final ended, it was announced that Brandon Montour and Aaron Ekblad, two players on the Florida Panthers blue line, will be missing some time to start the 2023-24 season. Both players were dealing with upper body injuries as far as their shoulders, and Aaron Ekblad played through a fractured leg throughout the postseason and still played all the way until game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final. Missed one game throughout the run, which was game 4 of round 1. But yeah, the Florida Panthers are going to be missing their two of their top 4 defensemen to start the 2023-24 season. Bill Zito said that it's going to be somewhere around the December 15th range. Not sure before, not sure if it's going to be after, but the Panthers are going to be missing 2 of those guys to start the year.
What do you feel was the Panthers' most significant offseason move and why?
There's you can flip a coin on which one was the bigger move for the Florida Panthers as far as biggest move. But let's start with going back to the first question in relation to it. And the Florida Panthers, they had a lot of cap space open up with the majority of Keith Yandel's buyout no longer being on the books for them. So that opened up a little bit of space to sign a few players, even though the cap only rose 1 million. And they used some of that money to sign Oliver Ekman-Larsson to a 1-year, $2.25 million contract. Struggled in Vancouver, struggled towards the end of his time with the Arizona Coyotes. But Oliver Ekman-Larsson has never been in a winning situation outside of 2012 when he was just coming into the league with the Phoenix Coyotes at the time. And now that he's in a winning situation and is a guy who can quarterback a power play, more of an offensive defenseman, which the Panthers, once again, missing 2 of their guys from the blue line, which Brandon Montour set a single season record for the Panthers in points. They're going to need some of that offensive production to be on their blue line. And who better than a veteran in Oliver Ekman-Larsson to bring in to at least possibly hold the fort to start the year. And another one, the coin flip, is Evan Rodriguez, who spent the last few seasons with the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Colorado Avalanche, playing on the same line as with 2 superstars in this game with Sidney Crosby and Nathan McKinnon. A little bit of a late bloomer in his career. He is likely going to be playing on the same line with Alexander Barkov to start the season. And when you talk about two-way centers, as far as that, with and being with the Selke Trophy winner in Barkov, it's a great situation for Evan Rodriguez coming to the mix. And as of this recording, so far what they've worked as far as power play 1, Evan Rodriguez was seen on the first unit for the power play. So definitely a guy who can rip a one-timer as well and get in front of the net. That's going to really help the Florida Panthers.
Who figures to be the most important player on the Panthers this season, and what makes them so critical to the team's success?
It has to go to the $10 million man in Sergei Bobrovsky. And listen, the Panthers, when they signed Sergei Bobrovsky on July 1 of 2019, there was a lot of questions on giving him that amount of money for the 7 years. But the Panthers are already halfway through that deal and this was the last 2 seasons for Sergei Bobrovsky had been his best. Franchise single season record in wins in a regular season with 39 in the President's Trophy winning season. has a 901 save percentage in the regular season in 2023, but then really exploded through the postseason with a 915 save percentage. And that's where he had games where the Florida Panthers gave up 7 goals in game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final, which Sergei Bobrovsky was pulled after the 4th one, and then 9 goals in game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final as well, but really exploded throughout the 2nd and 3rd round to really be the leading front runner for the Florida Panthers in as far as Conn Smythe favorite through the first 3 rounds. But the question is that performance going to be the same going into this regular season? Alex Line is no longer in the mix for the Florida Panthers after he signed a deal with the Detroit Red Wings. Alex Line was a good reason why the Florida Panthers made this run to the postseason to begin with. And Spencer Knight is back from the Players Assistance Program. And Sergei Bobrovsky is a year away from his no move clause becoming a 16-team no trade clause as well for the Panthers. So this is a very important season for Sergei Bobrovsky as far as continuing to build on what he did in the Stanley Cup playoffs this past season.
How about a potential breakout candidate? Any player you think that the fans should know about?
As far as breakout candidate, he is 1 year away from RFA status. It is Bill Zito's very first draft pick in Anton Lundell. And Anton Lundell struggled a little bit through the regular season, learning Paul Maurice's system. And that's a good majority of the roster struggled as they were getting accumulated to a new coach and not that run and gun style system that they did in their President's Trophy winning season back in 2022. And had a little bit of time on Alexander Barkov's wing throughout the regular season. And that line struggled. But as the playoffs went on, him with the line of Sam Reinhart and Eetu Luostarinen were really starting to gel all throughout the postseason. Unfortunately, Eetu Luostarinen did not play in the Stanley Cup Final after breaking his tibia, and that made a little bit of a juggle of the lines. But for what Anton Lundell playing with Alexander Barkov, those two started to gel a little bit more. But the question is for Anton Lundell, is there a possibility that he could be the 2C come as soon as the end of this season? Because Sam Bennett is 2 years away from his deal expiring. You're going to have to give a deal to Anton Lundell after this season. For me personally, I've been talking about getting the deal done before this season, before a possible explosion from him. But what is his season going to look like as far as that? And he's a big key as far as the Panthers third line as when you look up and down the NHL, the Panthers have one of the best top nines in the league, and having a 30 goal scorer in Sam Reinhart with Anton Lundell on the same line, it's definitely very helpful, and it's going to really help Anton Lundell's game develop.
So what would a successful season for the Panthers look like, and what's at stake if that isn't achieved?
There's 2 ways of looking at it as far as success with this team. There is the content side of it and then satisfied side of it. Content is getting back to the postseason, because if you count the Florida Panthers making it to Stanley Cup qualifiers back in 2020, this is 4 straight years that the Florida Panthers would be in the Stanley Cup playoffs. This is the most consecutive years that the Florida Panthers have made the postseason in their 30-year history. And the culture change with coach, GM as well coming into the mix, having the core locked in for this team, which Barkov and Tkachuk are under contract for the next 7 years. It's incredibly important to take advantage of what is currently their championship window. So content would be making the postseason, obviously, but satisfied would be continuing to at least win a round for the Florida Panthers. It's hard to win in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And yeah, the Panthers caught lightning in a bottle, no pun intended, to their state rival Tampa Bay Lightning. But with the Florida Panthers getting that round, that at least winning a round, it's continuing that storyline of the Florida Panthers being that destination franchise, a place where people want to go. Low state income, no state income tax, great weather, great culture. That is going to be sending a message to not only free agents, but a possible trade to improve this roster, as the salary cap, hopefully in the 2024 offseason, is going to rise by $4 to $5 million. So it is incredibly crucial for the Florida Panthers to win a round. And if they do not make the playoffs, everything that happened in the Stanley Cup, making it to the Stanley Cup Final, basically cancels out. So it is incredibly important, in my opinion, that the Florida Panthers make it back to the postseason, but at least get one round. Everything after that would be gravy if they get past the second round.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Armando. For more on the Florida Panthers, be sure to follow Locked On Florida Panthers on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube so you never miss an episode. And check out the season previews for all 32 teams across the Locked On NHL channel, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.